Hey everybody, welcome back to Prodigy Trading Market Analysis. We're going to go ahead and head into Wednesday, April 14th game plan. Let's start it off with a summary for today, which was Tuesday. So really, the main story for today was QQQ blasting through all-time highs. The whole technology sector was ripping, and it was led by NVIDIA and Tesla. We had that huge news on NVIDIA, and we knew going into today that if the volume was there, this thing was going to move. Right? We had 1 second. I think it was 606. Let me double check my Twitter. Yeah, 606. All right, we had that 606 bounce mark down. Tweeted it out pre-market. Said this level really looks like it could fly here. Right down here, got down to 605.5, and then by the end of the candle, we hit 624. I got out around 620. I was pretty happy with a $14 move. So I went ahead and said, all right, the all-time high was at 615. We went ahead, smashed through that, hit 620, and we ended up running all the way up to 628 by the end of today. But it was a really awesome trade because the premiums went for about 100% from the bounce spot at 606. So really awesome trade. Couldn't ask for any more on that. Tesla, I was talking earlier today about how, we talked about earlier this week and last week, this big spot at 722 on Tesla. And more importantly, not more importantly, but equally as important, that 50-day reclaim around 715. And we went ahead and we tested this thing and we smashed through it with conviction. I mean, look at that candle. There was no dip and there was no pullback. It was just move all day long. We didn't really get much of a pullback or a red candle until post-market. I mean, this thing was awesome, right? We broke out here at 722 and pretty much never looked back. And something that's really interesting here is you see that nice huge volume there. Something really interesting on Tesla today was the last hour of the market, we had about $15 million worth of sweeps. I mean, pretty much from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern time, every 2 to 3 minutes, there was a sweep coming in for a couple $100,000. And there was even a couple multi-million-dollar sweeps. A lot of 800 calls and 750 calls for this Friday, right? And we're going into Wednesday. So there's a lot of conviction in Tesla. So I don't think this thing is quite done yet, right? So we're going to be looking for that bounce. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But yeah, this Tesla, I mean, what a monster. That 50-day reclaim. And that's why these reclaims are so important, because once we reclaim that, sky's the limit there, right? We talked about this morning that 722, if the volume and the sweeps were there, 800 is within sight. And here we go. We're already $38 away from 800. Just absolute insanity. SQ keeps on running off a huge price target upgrades. Another headline for today. We had going into this morning, we had two key price target upgrades for Square. 315 price target upgrades. That was really huge. I was looking for 264.5 bounce, but I'm actually going to highlight why I was wrong on that and why I shouldn't have said that. Sometimes when Square bounces, it takes a day or two before it tests the 20-day again. And yesterday was a little bit of a consolidation day. So when it broke out today, it didn't really come down low enough. It got down to about 266, I think, maybe 265, 266. And I was looking for 264.5, but, I should have seen the volume and just jumped in. And I hope some of you guys did. But, nonetheless, we broke out over yesterday's highs at 268. And we were able to push all the way up to 275. So a nice $7 move there on the upside breakout, even though we didn't quite get that 20-day bounce. And, going into tomorrow, I am going to be looking for the 20-day bounce at 269. We did close at, I think, 273.25. Let's double check the daily. Yeah, about 273 we closed at. So I think 269, if we want to be aggressive, definitely 271. Is not a horrible spot, but you just have to be cautious there because it is there is a possibility it could slip down to 269, but still bullish, definitely. I have a short-term price target of 280 on Square, so we'll see if they can get there. Twitter finally gave us that $72 breakout that we've been looking for. It wasn't a crazy move, but it was a 75-cent move. It was a nice move there. We had this right here, 72. Been watching this thing for a couple weeks now. And we finally got our move. So now I want to see, they're still trending above the 5-day moving average. So I want to see maybe if they pull back to this 5-day moving average again, maybe we'll jump in some calls for 2 or 3 weeks out to get some low theta and see if we can hold this thing over 2 or 3 days and catch a $2 or $3 move on this. Me keeping a close eye on that. Netflix, I think we learned a valuable lesson here today. The breakout, we only got a $1.7 move. And then it dawned on me, someone mentioned to me, Netflix has earnings April 20th, right? Which is, what is that, next Tuesday or Wednesday? So, usually a stock going into earnings like Netflix, when it's already had its run up, right? We know that stocks like to run up going into earnings, but I think it might have already done that just because it's the wrong chart. But Netflix looks pretty similar. I mean, granted, the whole technology sector pulled back, but we've gone from, the past 2-3 weeks, we've basically gone from 496 to 560. That's already a pretty big move. So I think what we might see, and you're seeing the volumes still pretty low. I mean, Netflix volume is always pretty low, but it's low even for Netflix. So I think you're going to see this thing kind of consolidate around here. It might put in little $2 or $3 pops, but we're not going to get those $5 to $10 breakouts that we typically anticipate on Netflix, just because we're so close to earnings. I'm thinking a lot of big money investors are going to want to wait until post earnings to really give this thing some more volatility. So I'm going to go ahead and take Netflix off the watch list. Usually I trade this thing at least once or twice a week, but just for those reasons, I'm just going to wait until post earnings, just because, a $550 stock, $1-2 moves are nothing. You can't really profit off of that. So we're just going to wait until after earnings to touch that thing. And then an equally important headline today, just to round things out for today's recap, is Roku, Tesla, and Twilio all reclaim their 50-day macro supply, right? We already talked about Tesla. We had Roku on the watch list on Twitter this morning, looking for the 378 breakout. It was a pretty beautiful move, right? We broke out over that 378 and we put in a move to 385. So really nice $7 move in the first 30 minutes of market open. That was really awesome. Nice move there. And then trended up all day to about 389. Right. And then if we go to the daily, we can see that, yep, they finally reclaimed that. That's kind of like Tesla. Obviously not the same kind of move, but really not much difference, right? We didn't have much of a dip and we didn't have much of a pullback. It was just, we trended up all day. And I really like to see that in a reclaim. So going into tomorrow, let's go ahead and let's look at Twilio first, and then we'll just dive into tomorrow's game plan once we finish up today's recap. Right, so then Twilio, same thing. Right, guys, and keep in mind, Twilio typically not a lot of volume. The price action can be pretty meh, but still, I mean, pretty similar here, right? We never really pulled back, or we never really dipped. We pretty much opened and just went straight up, and a pretty small pullback there, $2-3 pullback, nothing crazy. But you see here, we have a lot of resistance at 389. So I'm thinking a clean snap of 390, and we can really get this thing going, 395, 400. Definitely I'm looking for a $5 move there on 390 and maybe even start to test 400, right? But it really excites me that we've reclaimed that 50-day supply. All right, so now let's go ahead and let's look at the game plan. Forgot to update that. Wednesday, April 14th. All right, Peloton. We were tweeting about this morning. 124.5 looked like a pretty nice spot, but it just didn't quite get there. And I kind of explained on Twitter this morning that I think maybe the reasoning for this is almost kind of similar to Netflix. And with Netflix, let's even take out the earnings. Yesterday, when we tried to play the breakout on Netflix, we talked about how that candle had already put in a $7 or $8 move, right? And we look at Peloton today. They were already up. If you look at yesterday's close around 119, well, they were already up about $6 on the day, and they had already put in a candle from 121 to 125, right? So when you're looking at a $120 stock and it's already put in a $5 move on the hourly candle, or $4 move rather, and on the day you combine the fact it gapped up $2 and now it's moved another $4, so that's a $6 move. And then on top of that, you have pretty low volume compared to was that Monday's breakout, right? That was actually last Friday's breakout, right? So when you combine all these factors, not really the highest quality setup. But now going into tomorrow, if tomorrow we can open around 124, 124.5, now we have room to break out at 125 and start running up to 127, 128, right? So those are the setups we're looking for. And I'm looking for this thing to go ahead and test the 100-day supply, which is at 129.4 on the daily. That's actually my least favorite setup for tomorrow. I put that first just to kind of get it out of the way. But now what I'm really excited about is these next 5 names. And you guys are going to notice it's the same old names that, for the most part, that we've been having on the watch list every day recently. And the reason for that is because these names have volume and they give us moves, right? When we're looking at Uber, Twitter, yes, sometimes 50 cent to $1 moves are nice on a smaller name. But as you get deeper in the week and the contracts become cheaper, there's nothing like playing Nvidia or Tesla or Amazon and just catching a clean $10 move in 5 to 10 minutes. That's really where you're going to get your winners. And not to say you should swing for the fences, but these are the trades that are going to give you 50 to 100% return, right? You should always be looking to win. And I always say 20 to 30% is awesome. But why not get greedy here? These things are moving right now. The market is moving. Let's take advantage of it. So with that being said, the headline for me tomorrow is going to be NVIDIA 60-minute dip. Now, one thing I am being cautious about is that the past 2 days it's put in insane moves, right? So I don't want to keep chasing this thing. But with that being said, it got like 6 price target upgrades this morning. And, if the volume looks anything like if that opening candle looks anything like this tomorrow, then I am 100% going to be in play for this thing. I don't know that we could expect another pullback to 606 because that's where the bounce spot is. That would have to mean that NVIDIA is down $20 on the day. I don't know that that's necessarily realistic, but definitely 620, right? So that would be a nice little $7 pullback, and then maybe we can push for 630, and then boom, there's our $10 move. We look at the 5-minute. Let's just see how they were trending today on the 5-minute. Always nice to take a look at that. 622, 619. So there's your 619, right? So if we can pull back tomorrow, I'm thinking we can go ahead and try to bounce this thing either around 623.5, or I'd really love to see 620. So that's going to be my target. And if it doesn't get there, let's see how the premiums look. Maybe we can take a breakout, but I am just cautious to take another breakout on NVIDIA after it basically went from 570 to 625 in 2 days. So it may need to rest a little bit. So I like that setup. I love that setup if it can dip, but on a breakout, I might be a little more cautious with it. Now on Square, we go to the hourly here. As we talked about in today's recap, they didn't quite get down to that 20-day. And, going into tomorrow, 270, a nice spot. And then maybe even this 10-day. You guys see how they've been holding that 10-day really well? How they did that today? Maybe 272 if we want to be aggressive. 272 doesn't look terrible. Let's just see how the QQQ is looking in correlation with Square. But definitely if we get an aggressive pullback, that 269.8 is a beautiful spot. And just a reminder, guys, if you're listening to this and you're writing down these levels, just keep in mind that moving averages change, right? So tomorrow, if Square gaps up $5, the 20-day moving average might be 271. It might not be 269.8 anymore, right? So just keep in mind that moving averages are dynamic, meaning they change on every tick, right? Because they're getting factored in by current data and past data. So when every time this stock ticks, the moving average is going to fluctuate a couple of cents. So just always keep that in mind. Don't write these bounce levels down tonight and then think that 269.8 is the bounce spot tomorrow, because more than likely it's going to change tomorrow. So just always double check your charts in the morning just to see what the updated bounce levels are. But just in general, the 10-day and 20-day look nice for Square. And then also on Square, I'm going to look for a breakout over today's highs. I still like this thing. It's giving me no reason to believe it can't keep on going. We have all-time highs around 283, I think. Looks like maybe 282.95. So over 275.5, I think we could definitely start to see 278, 280. So I keep a close eye on that. Looking at Roku, we already touched up on this a little bit. 50-day reclaim on the macro level. So I want to see, like I said, I want to see a clean snap of 390 to play the upside. If not, there's an aggressive 5-day moving average bounce at 383. And then there's some pretty nice bounces down here at 376, 379. So we'll definitely keep an eye on that. I'll go ahead and tweet out which bounce levels I'm officially looking at tomorrow. So make sure you guys check the bio on this video, and go ahead and follow me on Twitter. Turn on notifications, and I'll be putting out tweets for my official watch list in the morning. Tesla. The reason I'm really excited about Tesla tomorrow, and I'm almost contemplating, again, nothing's official till tomorrow morning. Let's see how the futures move. And let's see where the volume is going into open around between 9 and 9:30. Let's see where the volume is trending. But with that being said, Tesla might be my main watch tomorrow. And the reason is the sweeps were so aggressive on Tesla in the last hour of the market. I mean, you had $800 weekly contracts coming in, hundreds of $1,000s coming into 800 weeklies, right? And this thing's at 760. So you think about that, that's $40 out of the money, right? So you figure they're at least anticipating this thing to get to 780, maybe even 790, 800 by this Friday to make up for theta and whatnot. So, that really excites me. I really like that those 800 call sweeps were really aggressive. Right, so that a clean snap over 764 looks nice to see this thing keep on running up into maybe 780. I think definitely we could start testing 780, 795. And then for dip, what did I post? 743. Let's see. Is that the 10-day? I might have got that off the 5-minute. Let's see. When a stock goes kind of parabolic, sometimes the hourly demand levels, the bounce levels, which is known as demand, is so low that it's not really realistic unless there's a big sell-off. So sometimes I like to go to the 5-minute just to see where's a nice little smaller scale bounce spot at. Definitely, I think 753 is a nice bounce spot. We'll keep an eye on that. Right now it's just speculating. We don't really know what the bounce spots are going to be until tomorrow morning. But with that being said, we've been trending above the 5-day moving average going back to the 9th. So going back to last Friday, basically Monday and Tuesday this week, we haven't really dipped below the 5-day. So maybe a test of the 5-day, but that's going to be at 759. It's not a very nice bounce. I think 748 would be really clean. I'll go ahead and tweet out my favorite bounce spot going into open tomorrow. And then to round things out for my game plan for tomorrow is going to be Amazon. So Amazon spiked really nice today. They got up to 34.30 after closing yesterday at about 33.80. And now I want to see if they can bounce this 20-day, right? Because if you go back, look what they've been doing since basically March 31st, right? They have been on an absolute tear. And every time they come down around the 20-day, they put in a nice little bounce. What do? They consolidate, break the highs, consolidate, break the highs, right? Consolidate, break the highs, consolidate, break the highs. So I want to keep a close eye on this 33.90 bounce. If they can pull back to 33.90, I definitely want to hit Amazon with some size and see if we can get a bounce back up to 35.08. Nice little $18 move. Looking at Qs and SPY, this recap goes for both of them. The rest day paid off. We talked about yesterday was a pretty quiet day for the Qs and SPY. We had a little consolidation for the first time in like 2.5 weeks. We didn't gap up. We actually gapped down a tiny bit, and then we just had a very small daily range, and it definitely paid off. It's important to have those rest days. And now going forward, if this trend holds true and we keep closing above the 5-day demand on the daily, there's no reason we shouldn't keep on running. And I'll show you guys what I mean if we go to the charts on Qs and SPY. Right, so this little bull run we've been having, that 5-day moving average is really sensitive. And if you think about it, that makes sense because it's tracking the average price over the past 5 days, right? So it's going to be much more sensitive to recent data, right? And this bull run is strong. A trend is strong on the bull side when a stock keeps on trading above that 5-day and it never tests it, because it means it keeps on making higher highs. So as long as we can hold this thing, which right now is at 336, as long as we don't give up and close below the 5-day moving average, I see no reason why we shouldn't remain bullish. Now, keep in mind what we talked about last Friday and yesterday. We have to be very selective. We have to take our bounce spots. We have to be very selective with our breakouts, make sure the volume is there, because there is an overall lack of volume in the market. So if you buy a breakout, we're not getting the craziest moves on breakouts. So that's why I've been focusing really hard on bounces. But with that being said, the sentiment still remains the same. We're still bullish. Just keep a very close eye on that 5-day on the daily. Looking at SPY, same thing, right? I don't even have to say anything. You guys see it right there, right? As long as we keep closing above that and making higher highs, no reason to not shift our sentiment to bullish. And then, just to recap, earnings. Tomorrow morning, we're going to have JP Morgan, Wells Fargo, Goldman Sachs. All three of those big banks are going to be reporting earnings tomorrow morning. So just keep an eye out for any, crazy headlines. It shouldn't be anything too crazy, but who knows? They might drop something that affects the entire market. So we'll just keep a close eye on that. But other than that, not too much to expect from earnings. And that's going to do it. All right. So like I said, keep an eye on the Twitter. We'll post an official watch list, and make sure you guys are studying your charts and learning the supply and demand. If you have any questions, go ahead and drop a comment down below. Message me on Twitter. That's going to do it for tonight. All right. Have a good night, everybody.